So the first section is about undoing mistakes or undoing things in Git. There's many ways to do it. Git provides a whole list of tools to undo work, redo commits, rewrite commits. And that's sometimes leaves you puzzled as you read documentation on how to do things. Just as an example, one of the speakers here at this conference, Emma Jane, she has created these flowcharts, which is actually an expert Git trainer too, Emma Jane Hogby in Westby. She's created this flowchart to show you what should you do if you want to revert things with Git. And there's a very complex workflow around it. So just to debunk some of the complexity, I want to work you through some of these examples together so that you have at least a couple of things that you know where to get to when you want to undo things. So let's see. Yeah, I wanted to say, yeah, it's very obvious, right? Whenever you're working on a Git project and you're typing reset commands or amend commands, actually in reality all commands, you always have to think about that a Git repository, a Git working directory, a Git environment is comprised of three core things. Your current working directory, where the current version of your code is checked out and you're modifying files. The index, or otherwise called the staging area, which is a temporary area where you prepare your next commit. And the local repository where actually commit objects are stored. And that generally is in the .git folder itself. Then there's a fourth component, which is like the remote, so where you push code to and from, and pull code from. But whenever you do undo things, you need to be very clear about which parts of the Git environment you are touching. So just keep it in mind. We will use this in a bit. So let's go to the console and try in the first first action. So I have a repository where I have a lot of the summaries of all these Star Wars episodes. And there's a new one coming up. It's called The Force Awakens. So let me open it for you. As you can see, it's what I did. I just generated some random text. I just said Harrison Ford is back, and I just want to use it as a placeholder to create a new file with a new summary. But the content of the movie is not known yet. So if I do git status, you see that Git tells me, hey, there's a file that it's in there in that folder, but it's untracked. I don't know what to do with it. So the process to tell Git to track it is to first add it to the staging area. So we tell Git, please track this file. Then Git now knows that you want to track this file and it's ready to commit it. So it has added that file to the staging area. And then we can create a commit. Commit -m added episode 7 summary. I have created a commit. I will wipe the screen and show you that it's there. So I wipe the screen, I do git ls, you remember my trick. And now there at the top, you see that there's a new commit with a unique identifier. And now it does mess us up. And actually the server still is behind one commit. Okay, so we created a commit. And if you have been paying attention, you see that all the files. Now the first change I want to make is let me show you episode 5, for example. It's perfectly wrapped at 80 characters. Now, because the screen is too small, you don't see it, but it wraps perfectly at 80 characters, while this file that I just added doesn't. So what I want to do is just select all the text and make sure it wraps at 80 characters. You have to believe me that this is what happens. You see all the lines have changed. And I apologize because you cannot really see because the screen is too big. So, but let's say we did make a change. You see that I have changed all the lines. Using git diff, I can see the change I made to the file. Every line has been rewritten, and now I have a single line has been converted into multiple lines. Now, I could just create a commit for this, but it's such a small, mistake, and I haven't shared the previous commit with anyone. Can I just weave in this change back into the commit I just did? This is where you can use a commit, amending the previous commit. So commit amend allows you to take the changes, that unsaved changes, uncommitted changes on your local folder, and say, okay, whatever I just done, add it to the previous commit. So you do, the command works like this. So I'll just first show you its status. See, Git now knows about the file, knows that we made a modification, and now we want to amend this commit. So we can do, tell Git, I want to create a commit, but in reality, I want to amend the previous commit. And I don't want you to ask me what the commit message should be. I don't want to rework the commit message. I want you to reuse the commit message of head. Head, as you guys know, is the latest commit in the repository, or in the branch that you're in this case master. And so if I type this command, what Git will do, it will take the changes that I just made and weave them into the repository. Before I do, just want to show you that the ID of the file. So the commit ID of the commit we just created is this one. And after the commit amend, the commit ID will change because we have changed entirely that commit. So as you can see, now if I look at the commit ID, so I have actually weaved in those changes into that commit. I've rewritten that commit ID, so because I haven't shared that commit with anybody else, everybody's still happy. But remember, when you rewrite commits, if those commits are in the cloned repository of some of your colleagues, you might run into trouble. So only rewrite history, amend commits for things that you haven't shared with colleagues yet. Okay, that was the first thing I wanted to show you. See, I wanted to see if you guys would catch this. See, I typed this command, and let me go put it at the top so that you all see it properly. So I typed this command, but the commit amend command will only take the stuff that we already added to the staging area. You remember, you tell Git, I want to add these changes to the staging area so that you can create my next commit. And this command will only act on the changes that are already on the staging area. If you want to add, if you want to amend the commit with the changes that you haven't explicitly added to the staging area, you need to add the -a, so it means minus all, whatever change, even if I haven't added it, minus add, it means actually, whatever change, even if I haven't added it, I want you to, amend them in. So if I do that, now you can see that my current folder doesn't contain any changes yet, and if you could see the Forks Awakens, you can maybe go see it wraps exactly at 80 characters. And see, I can show you. So now the file has been changed. Okay, so that was the first thing I wanted to show you. And let me go back to the slides. So see, just wrap it up. If you don't want to type all that, because I do this probably 10 times a day. So I commit something, I'm very happy about it, then I realize, oh, there's a typo. I want to just do one final check, just one final change before I actually push this. And you can create an alias. I have set it up to CAA. You can add it to your .git config, the alias section. And so I can just type git CAA, and it will take any uncommitted changes and weave them into the previous commit. See, there's another change that, another mistake that I made that I want to show you, and I want to undo the same commit in a different way. So I show you a couple of ways to do it, and with some theory behind it. So you see, all the files I've created are called episode 2, episode 3, episode 6, and then I created the Force Awakens. And you see, I'd like to be consistent, so I'd like to rename this file. So now I can just rename the file, create a commit with the renamed file, but just for the sake of showing you what's possible, I want to undo the previous commit and rename this file. To do that, I want to first show you a little bit about the different kinds of reset. So the git reset is a very useful command that allows you to say move your project back in time to a certain point in time. But you remember that that Git has three concepts, right? Three trees where you're operating with your commands. You have the current working directory, you have the staging area, and you have your local repository. So git reset is a beautiful command, and it works on all of those three components, depending on the parameters that you pass to git reset. So sometimes people get confused about git reset does, and I want to explain you why it's a very powerful and useful thing. The default way of using reset, if you don't use any parameters, if you don't pass anything to git reset, you will use reset in mixed mode. And I'll show you what mixed mode does. When you do a normal git reset, which is you're using git reset in mixed mode, what you're doing is you are moving the head commit back, in this case, back one commit, and you're saying, okay, I want to reset back to one commit, both my local repository, both my staging area, but leave the working directory exactly as it is. So that will keep the changes that we had made, but we haven't created any commit yet, and we haven't added those changes to the index yet. That's what a mixed reset will do. And if you're confused by the tilde over there, okay, so just you can refer to commits by a symbolic name, by what they are called ancestry references. That means you can append some sign at the end of a ref, in this case head, to say go back one, or go back two, or climb the ancestry tree X times. So the hat, so hat says go to the parent of this commit, and you can go follow the ancestry tree n times by using the tilde. So let's see what I just told you actually is true. So let me get a list of commits. Okay, so we want to undo this. So we want to go back one commit, but we want to keep our local folder exactly as it was. Keep the change that we made so that we can change the file. So we can use git reset head. This will go, okay, move the local repository back one commit, move the staging area back one commit, but leave my current working directory exactly as it was at the commit before, so at head. So if I do this, and I do git status, see, now Git has rewound everything back one commit, but my local folder is as it was before. So Git doesn't know about this file anymore. I haven't added it yet, at least now that I moved the head back. So what I want to do is just quickly rename the file to episode, what was it? Episode 7? Episode 7? LMV. And because we're basically, there's no commit ID anymore, I can just recommit it. So I can just commit -am and episode 7 summary. I haven't added the file yet, so I need to first do git add episode 7, and I'm going to create a commit. So now, if I do git ls -3, just to show the last three, we have recreated a new head commit, and that contains, let me show you with git ll, you remember, is my long form. See, we have now created a commit that contains the new rename file. Now, different kinds of resets act on different kinds of resets act on different kinds of the three components that make up a Git environment. So the hard reset we have to go full screen on this. Yeah. So the hard reset does something slightly different than the mixed reset. It will actually undo also any local change that you have on your current working directory. So the proper way to completely undo a commit and even forget about all the changes that were part of the commit is to do a hard reset. So git reset --hard. And there's a third kind, which is a soft reset, which will only undo, move the head of your local Git repository, but will keep the stuff inside your staging area. For some scenarios and sometimes that is useful too. But I want to move on and give you another example of a rebase, this time an interactive rebase.